Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, countless Americans go to church, but they don't feel an authentic relationship with God. We're going to be talking to a certified spiritual director next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, countless Americans go to church every weekend. They check that box. I went to church, but they're not fed, and they don't have an authentic connection to God. And that's why I brought in my next guest. LaSaundra Gibson is in the studio. She's a certified spiritual director. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be with another former journalist.
That's right. That's right. And preacher's kid. So let's start with the basic. What is a certified spiritual director?
So spiritual directors, we are trained listeners. We hold space for people to share honestly and authentically from their soul. And that space allows them to listen to what is stirring in their soul. So spiritual direction, it's an ancient practice. It's been around for a very long time. 3rd, 4th, 5th centuries, when early Christians were living monastically in the deserts of Egypt and Syria. And these were people who were devoted to God, and people recognized their devotion. So they went to them for spiritual wisdom, just like people today who are curious, like, what's happening in my life? Why do I feel so disconnected to God? What's happening in the world? Explain this to me. Those are the same questions people carry today. And so in this space, it's a non-judgmental space for you to be able to share.
Yes.
And we all long to be listened to, heard, seen, and known. Recently, I was in the grocery store, and the cashier began to open up about some very difficult things going on in her life. And by the way, this happens often, where strangers will just start to share about their life. And so I've learned to recognize this as like a gift of hospitality that I have. And as she was sharing, I listened attentively, and then I would say, what's it like to hold that? And by the end of this very short encounter, I saw visibly her transformation change. She was lighter and brighter. That is the power of having someone hold space for you to listen to what's stirring and to share that.
Yes.
And so that is what happens in spiritual direction. It can happen really anywhere, even in the grocery store. And even though this practice is rooted in Christianity, I don't know if that lady's a Christian.
Right.
But you know what? Her life was transformed because she was heard.
Yes.
She was listened to. And so, many times people say, it sounds like therapy. Well, there is some overlap. They're very similar. And they coexist nicely together because we are holding space for people's stories. But we are not fixing or diagnosing in spiritual direction. This really is about us listening together, being companions, not a hierarchy, not telling you what to do. And so many people who come to spiritual direction, they come because they want to deepen their relationship with God. Maybe they're exploring their spirituality, or they have belief systems, and now they're questioning, their faith.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I still believe this. Or, like me, they find themselves in a transition in life, and they have to make a very important decision, and the discerning, what do I do? And that's where I found myself several years ago when I discovered spiritual direction. I was in a marriage of almost 11 years, and I was miserable. And that marriage was taking a toll on my emotional and psychological well-being. And so, like many Christians, I wrestled with, can I get divorced? God hates divorce, right? Those are the things we hear. And so I felt stuck. I felt trapped. But even though those belief systems were there, I knew that inside God was saying to me, I am not asking you to stay in a marriage like this. I love you. And so several people during that time randomly said to me, have you ever heard of spiritual direction? And I was like, no, I haven't. But because it kept coming up, I thought, I need to look into this. So I'm thankful that I did, because I went to a spiritual director and I was already seeing my therapist. So by the way, spiritual direction does not replace therapy. So I was already seeing my therapist, but when I saw the spiritual director, it was like a lifeline, and being in a non-judgmental space brought a lot of healing for me. And it helped me recognize something, that often we are looking out here for the answers when the answers are in here. And so that space allowed me to really listen for what is true, be reassured in what I knew God was saying to me. And it really just brought a lot of healing and peace for me. And so it's sacred ground, I like to say,
Yes.
where, two people are together listening, and for the Spirit to be present there too, God with us. Like, what is God saying? How is God active in my life?
Yes. We're going to pull up her website, and as we scroll on the website, talk about the clients that you like to work with.
Oh, I like to work with people who are seeking, because I really believe in authenticity. And so one of my clients, she reached out to me a few months ago, and I hadn't heard from her. Sometimes in spiritual direction, people come for a month, they come for weeks, for a year. And she had been with me for a year. And she reached out and said, I just want you to know how much you changed my life. I thought I could only meet with God in this way. And you showed me that God was so present in my life, that there are many ways that I can engage with God. It brought a lot of freedom and healing for me. And so what I always say to people is that this is a space for you to be honest and authentic and real, because that's a core value of mine, authenticity.
Yes.
And, I think this practice points to the character of who Jesus is. If you read the Gospels, Jesus often asked questions of people. And I believe he did that because he wanted people to have an opportunity to self-reflect, to process, to figure out what was stirring in their soul, not be told what to do or what to think.
Yes.
And so that's why I love this space, is because together we're listening and we're, tell me more about that. What does that feel like?
Yes.
And there's a story, if I may share it, in the Bible. I love this story. It's in Luke 24, where followers of Jesus were on this journey to this village called Emmaus. And this is just after some major events. Jesus is crucified and then resurrected. And so he casually joins them on this journey, and they are wrestling with questions like, what does all this mean? What just happened? We thought this was the Messiah. What does the future hold now? They didn't recognize this was Jesus who joined them. But essentially, he began to do spiritual direction. He asked questions, they answered. He asked more questions, they answered. When they reached their destination, they broke bread together, and suddenly a light bulb went off, and they realized, that's Jesus. That was Jesus. Wow. So that's two things that happen often in spiritual direction that I've noticed. One, people recognize God speaks to me. And there are many ways that God speaks to us, not just one way. And then they recognize God was actually present with me. He was there all along, just like he was with those followers who were on that walk. They didn't recognize him.
Yes.
And the reason is because we often don't take the time to slow down. And the slowing down opens the door for awareness of what is happening in my life.
Yes. All right, there are 350 million Americans, and if you ask most of them, they would say that they're spiritual. But as I said off the top of the show, just going to church doesn't necessarily make you fulfilled.
No, people are looking for that connection, right? Like we are with people. We want to feel connected. You could be living in a house with somebody and feel like you are alone. Yes. And so it doesn't necessarily bring that connection. We hope it does, because community in a space with people who are like-minded is a beautiful thing. And I encourage people to go to church. But on our own journey, there has to be more. And so when do we have time to really slow down and listen? Yes. And you mentioned, that big number of Americans. Well, there was a poll done, a Gallup poll in 2023, that said that over 80% of Americans identify with some spiritual belief system, whether they say, I'm spiritual, or they engage in a religious institution. Also, another study that same year, Calm, did a workplace study, and they found that employees, 70% of them, want their employers to help them manage stress and anxiety. They want their employers to help them do that. So what does that tell me? That tells me two things. One, spirituality is meaningful because we just heard in that poll, 80% of Americans identify with spirituality, so it's meaningful in some way. And we also know that it is a powerful tool to assist and help in our mental well-being. And it reduces stress and anxiety. Brain research shows that neuroplasticity happens, neural pathways, new ones are created in our brain when we engage in meditative practices, even for short durations. If that is repeatedly done, the brain is rewired.
Yes.
And so instead of operating from this fight or flight mode like most of us are,
Yes.
this helps us engage the part of our brain that really helps us manage emotions. And so the rewiring happens in the slowing down, in the breathing, in the silence, in the stillness. These are all contemplative practices. And when I say contemplative, all I mean is that you are slowing down to be present to your life. And practices help people do that. So I've created these workshops for businesses, for nonprofits, churches, senior living communities, to help people engage with these practices and implement them into their daily rhythms. We don't want something else that's going to be time consuming or something else we have to do, but there's a way to implement these into our daily rhythms that will help us not only emotionally in our overall well-being, but also in productivity and in personal development. And so companies are taking notice of this and they're starting to offer more programs. And so this is my passion, and so I'm trying to help them out with these workshops.
Well, and one of the reasons she's so smooth, she spent most of her adult life on camera. You have several reels that are out there. We're going to just show a little video of your acting reel. So you spent a lot of years doing, I went to your IMDb. I mean, it goes on for days. I mean, you got a lot of stuff that you've done.
I spent 15 years in Los Angeles, and I wasn't looking to act. It just happened. And I was able to do a lot of those niche roles where I was a news anchor reporter. Yeah. It was a really an amazing time in my career. And so I love speaking, communicating, and being in front of the camera is just a natural thing. It's fun. You get it.
And you do a lot of hosting. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to spiritual director. Who needs you?
Who needs me? The people who want to be listened to, who want to be seen and known, the people who have questions and they want a safe space to voice those questions. You're curious, you're seeking, you're exploring. You want a deeper connection with God, or you want to understand what is going on in my soul. You want a deeper connection with yourself. I love people, and I believe that, we need more spaces where people can be seen and known and listened to. It seems like a simple thing, but it takes a lot of practice. I mean, when's the last time you really felt heard?
True.
Yeah.
All right. Are you like a great mechanic? They can hear the car coming into the garage and they already know it's wrong. Can you discern when somebody meets you for the first time? Are you able to say, I can figure out what's wrong under the hood?
Well, that's the thing. As I mentioned earlier, is that in spiritual direction, we're really not looking for what's wrong. We're not trying to fix anything. We're not trying to diagnose anything. That's the job of a therapist or a psychologist, and I'm neither of those. But I can hear the ache in a person's heart who is saying, I'm struggling. I know what that's like. I lived there for a very long time, and I didn't have the answers even though I had a relationship with God. That's why it's important to be in the presence of someone who's trained to do this. It's a companionship. We need people And not just people, but people who can truly hold space. So even though I was in that very dark, difficult place, and I knew God, and God was speaking to me, it wasn't really until I was in the presence of another that I was really able to say, oh, okay, yeah, this is reassuring me, and this is bringing life to me. And so, I mean, I would say it speaks back to that connection piece. We all want connection. And sometimes it's just difficult to see it on our own and carry it on our own, and we shouldn't have to.
All right, we have a couple minutes left, so look into the camera on the left and talk to that person who's struggling.
Yes. Well, I'm so appreciative that you're here and that you took the time to listen in. And what I want you to know is that your life matters, and what you care about, God cares about. So even if you are seeking or searching or you're not sure about God, that's okay. I hope that you would be open to finding a place that feels safe for you to share, because you deserve to be listened to. Your story deserves a place, a home to be held, and your story matters. And so I just want to encourage you to keep going and trust that there's meaning for you in this life.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and your wisdom. We're going to end with her website, which is LaSaundra.com, the great LaSaundra Gibson. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.